Welcome to the Pitchwerks podcast. I'm Scot McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
Try and kind of hold their hand, but push them up on their own feet at the same time.
Yeah, you need a little bit of both.
So we're not giving them all this, like a large amount of funding. We only have a little bit. We only have limited funding for everybody. But like I said, we try to.
So not to guilt people, but every time you hang up the phone on the Red Cross house fire lady, right? That's what we're talking about. Is we need to push people out a little bit quicker.
Yes.
Right. And yes, I'm using guilt, and you're just gonna have to be okay with it.
I usually don't use guilt.
I know, that's what I'm here for. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Scot. It's the Pitchwerks podcast, and you are back listening to the Epicast Network and the fine family of shows that live here. This week, I've got Connie Cavrich, and she's going to talk to us about how her job in philanthropy and fundraising for the American Red Cross is alike and different from the one that you're doing, whether you're in sales or marketing or you're starting up your own little firm there. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I do appreciate it. This is the part where I'm going to nag you about ratings and reviews because I felt like mixing it up a little bit this week. So if you're using iTunes, I'm going to insist, I'm going to pound my fist against this table here and say, the time is now. Please give us a star rating and a review and tell other people what they might expect if they started listening to this fine program. It's pretty easy. Just get in there and choose a star rating from 1 to 5, right? You're going to say 5 stars. Scot has a lovely collection of monochrome neckties. 1 star. I'm not sure monochrome neckties are going to fix the problem with what's going on there. Either way, I'm okay with it. It's the feedback I'm after. You can take shots at me. I'll live through it. The feedback that we get in iTunes and whatever other tools you might feel like reviewing us on helps other people to find shows that they might like, and we would really appreciate it if you'd help us there. Without any further ado, let's talk to Connie a little bit about philanthropy and fundraising and how it is that she does her thing over at the American Red Cross. Connie, welcome to the Epicast Studios and the Pitchwerks podcast. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
I don't know. You don't sound too convinced of that fact.
I'm fine. It's summer. It's great. The weather's good.
It's not good. It's so muggy, and I'm dying.
Bring it on.
My people are not used to this.
Pittsburgh, I'm sorry.
You're going to have to ladle me up off the sidewalk.
Bring it on. I can't wait for more heat.
Oh, you're killing me right now. I don't live here because I love the high humidity and tropical temperatures combination. This is like my least favorite part of the year. But let's give you a proper introduction. You are the Southwestern Pennsylvania fundraising, what do we call that, director, manager?
Actually, I have a new title.
Do you now?
Yes.
Go on. What is it?
Regional Philanthropy Officer.
Huh. I don't know.
Sounds pretty interesting, doesn't it?
It does sound interesting.
Formerly a major gift officer.
Right. Major gifts officer. I don't know. I kind of liked the way that did some of your talking for you in advance before, right? You know, like, oh, I don't know if I'm giving a major gift, so maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should just put mine in an envelope instead. Right? The Regional Philanthropy Officer.
It's a mouthful.
It might take a minute. I might get used to it. I don't know. It's a weird thing for me to wrestle with. But how did you get into this?
How?
How did you get into being the Regional Philanthropy Officer?
I started out in the government.
Yeah.
I worked for a U.S. senator. So I was.
Are we allowed to say which one?
Sure. He's passed away.
Okay.
But it was Senator Arlen Specter.
Who was nationally famous.
Yes. Awesome. An awesome senator. Most people either loved him or hated him.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely somebody who didn't back down from a fight.
That's correct. But one of the most intelligent individuals I've ever met. Excluding my husband, of course.
Your husband is very smart, I heard.
Yes, he is.
His reputation precedes him.
But at any rate, I really enjoyed working with him. And basically, I was selling a candidate. I was selling his philosophies. I was selling whatever he was supporting at the time, whether it be legislation, regulation, standards, things like that. And I was working in the Pittsburgh office. So a lot of people say, oh, were you working in Washington? And I say, no, I was working in Pittsburgh, actually, where it was happening because, we were dealing with his constituency,
right,
which people in D.C. had no clue.
Yeah, they were more the. I would say probably a little bit less intense on a day-to-day basis because the people that you meet in DC are not the people who are living in the immediate area.
Right.
That's
They're not
being
dealing
served.
with. They're not dealing with the problems. They're not dealing with the concerns. They're dealing with the legislation that supposedly is going to help these folks.
It's more the functional piece.
That's right.
Yeah.
But they were a little more intense in that they thought they were where it was happening. So, and you weren't.
Right, yeah. There's always that hierarchy, right?
Yes.
The people in the corporate office think they know everything, and the people in the branch office are hicks and rubes, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would always have to kind of like bring them back to the surface and say, I need to be able to tell these people what's going on, and I need to tell them that they're going to get their Social Security check tomorrow. So that's more important to me than what you're working on. I'm sorry.
And they probably came by every day until it arrived, right? I mean, when they were really intense, when
Yes.
they really needed a problem solved, they come by over and over again.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
But he delivered. I mean, he did respond to, even though he was a Republican at that time, he did respond to those issues. Yes, he was fiscally conservative, but yes, he cared about the people that were, needed his help.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about him.
A friend of mine paged for him too.
Oh, really?
And he kind of said the same things, right? Like a very intense individual.
Oh, extremely.
Never backed down from a fight, and polarizing. So where do you go from Senator Specter's office?
I went to do what I really wanted to do in life was I wanted to be a lobbyist.
Oh, wow.
So
Did you now?
I did for 7 years. And I was a good lobbyist. I wasn't slimy.
Right.
I actually lobbied for mental retardation services.
Oh,
programs.
yeah. I mean, if you were going to, yeah.
But that was another learning experience where I had no idea that, not to put a pun in it, but I had no idea that folks with disabilities weren't allowed to go to school until like 1976, which was ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So until IDEA passed, that they stayed at home. I worked with great, wonderful families, older parents who had kept their kids at home, never sent them to an institution, saved countries thousands of dollars, had wonderful stories of how they were productive and they were educated and they were working in the community.
Yeah.
And loved it. And I loved doing my job because I got to go to Washington and I got to go to Harrisburg and I got to, just walk the halls and lobby whatever we were lobbying for that particular day.
And help out people that needed it.
Wonderful. I always tell people my husband's a lawyer, so he's had to deal with a lot of lying.
Yeah.
And he knows when someone's lying. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But for me, I've always had a positive career, I might say.
Yes.
I've worked with wonderful people with big hearts, people who don't make a lot of money but are helping a lot of people that they really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to collect money and have people give me money for people they'll never ever meet.
Right.
That's the biggest satisfaction they're going to get. They're not going to get any product. My sister's been in sales as well. It's kind of in our blood because my father had supermarkets, so we're born that way. And
right.
The funniest part was my daughter just said to me the other day, she's in sports management and she's an intern, and she said to me, "Mom, we have to sell tickets." And I said, "Oh, is that freaking you out?" She said, "No, I love it." She's like,
She got the bug too.
She does. Yes. I said, "Well, it's in your blood."
My daughter's got it too.
But they just do it. And as I said, going back is I just have I see nothing but the positive in the world when I'm at my job.
Right.
Now I do have some low points. Some people do say no to me every once in a while, and that kind of makes me sad.
Of course, yeah.
But that just makes me go on to the next person. And I'm sort of like a dog with a bone. So unless you tell me no, I'll keep calling you. So you need to tell me no.
That's why you've been successful. How long have you been doing this?
About 26 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's success. If it wasn't working, they would have told you by now. So you said, I'm like a dog with a bone, right? And you already told us why. You feel like what you're doing is good, honest, positive impact. So why would you stop? Right?
Correct.
That's what's great. And that's the engine that keeps you humming. Yeah, you could have gone to a different job where you were selling shoes, right? And you may have been able to trick yourself into believing that these shoes were going to save the world, but finding that thing that like is in the middle of you that's like, I need to do this. It's good for the world and I'm proud of doing it, makes the hardest part of sales, the perseverance part of it, that much easier.
Well, that's what people say. They say, how can you do this? Well, how can you do this on a daily
Who
basis?
says that?
A lot of people ask me that.
Really?
Yeah.
These are just like people that you know, people that you don't know?
Just people I don't know, to people I meet. They'll say, how do you ask people for money? And I said, well, I'm not asking for myself.
You're not, yeah, it's not like I'm putting it in my purse and walking out with it, right?
I said, for instance, the Red Cross, I'm asking for people whose houses just burnt down the night before and they have nothing left, or they've lost everything to a flood for maybe the second time.
Right.
And their house is full of 3 inches of mud and their muck and sewage and whatnot. So,
yeah, I mean, you're solving problems for people. It's not like you're lining your pocket, and there hasn't been like the big Red Cross scandal where there's like a big sucking sound that goes into the Connie Cavrich fund, right?
No, that would be nice. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm sure we could probably add it as like a side bonus, be like, hey, okay, now of this, how much of it do you want to go to me? I'm just wondering, like 10%? I mean, there's a lot of cash here. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to miss it.
Well, that would be unethical.
It would. It would be terrible.
Just slightly, just ever so slightly. And maybe illegal slightly.
Once you got arrested, I'm sure it would be horrible. No, I don't mean to encourage that entirely. The Red Cross is into a lot of things, though. People don't necessarily, I think a lot of times people think about the Red Cross as being about what they see on like the national news or the international news more on point, right? Where they say, okay, well, the Red Cross has gone in to help the refugees, or the Red Cross has gone in to help the people affected by the hurricane, or, like they think in terms of these like huge, wide swath kind of things. But you and I first met when we were working on, what was it, house fires due to furnace.
The number one disaster we deal with, actually, people don't know because they think of the floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes and things that are spewing out in the ocean at the moment. But our number one disaster are home fires. We deal with one every day. So if you're listening to the morning news, either on TV or you're driving into work, you'll hear that there was a fire somewhere in the Pittsburgh area and the Red Cross responded.
I catch it on 11 o'clock. I watch, and there's always that picture of the house.
It's the last 30 seconds of the
and
the pitch.
There's the fireman in the helmet, right? And he comes out and he tells you, well, it was caused by a gas leak, or it was caused by filters not being cleaned. There's like 12 different stories that they always come out and tell. And there's always that neighbor who comes out and goes, I knew something was wrong, and I went to call 911. And they tell that story every single day. And I think we sometimes get a little bit sort of blind to where the relief comes from. We assume maybe that there's like a division of the fire department that puts you up for the night. That's you guys.
That would be us guys.
Yeah.
We do it. We don't receive any type of government funding like you're referring to.
Right.
We rely mostly on individuals, corporations, and foundations. So every once in a while, if we write a grant, we get approved, we might get some government funding, but that's for a specific program.
Right. You have to target those pretty specifically.
Yes.
You're asking for a grant for whatever amount.
Exactly. So each day when we respond to a fire, we're responding to someone's immediate needs, because when you have a fire, it's usually not during the day. It's usually in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., and you're standing outside with your family in your jammies.
I lived through this. My parents had this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you know what it's like then.
They bought brand new appliances, and there was an electrical fault in one of them. And I got a call at like 2 a.m., and there we were. Like I had to bring toothbrushes and everything else because the house had gone up. No one was hurt. I don't want to.
That's good.
I don't want to leave anybody in suspense. Everybody was fine. My mom got everybody out of the house. I mean,
fantastic.
She's a monster on that stuff. But
we went
up in smoke. I mean, it was over.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible. I'm sorry. But we do have circumstances where unfortunately we lose folks.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do we respond to folks' immediate needs, so if it's you and me, we have fire insurance. So you're going to come into our trucks and you're going to make some phone calls. You have families, so you're maybe going to call your sibling or your mom and dad, and you're going to say, our house burned down, can I come over? We're going to drive you there. You're going to, within a day or so, you're going to at least get things rocking and rolling. Mm-hmm. For folks who are more underserved, we're going to help you. We're probably going to have to give you up to 3 days of a hotel stay. We'll assign you a caseworker who will work with you and make sure you're getting the resources that you need to get back to your new sense of normalcy until you really can get back to normal. We do help folks find apartments if that's necessary. But we try and kind of hold their hand, but push them up on their own feet at the same time.
Yeah, you need a little bit of both.
So we're not giving them all this, like a large amount of funding. We only have a little bit. We only have limited funding for everybody. But like I said, we try to.
So not to guilt people, but every time you hang up the phone on the Red Cross house fire lady, right? That's what we're talking about. Is we need to push people out a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, I'm using guilt, and you're just going to have to be okay with it.
I usually don't use guilt.
I know, that's what I'm here for. No, I mean, seriously. So the show is called Pitchwerks. We're actually taking a look at the way people make their presentation and kind of figure out why it works and how it works. And yeah, okay, tongue in cheek, I could say, you know what, I'm using guilt. But all seriousness, when you first sit down with, let's assume that I'm the representative of like a big corporation or something. What do you start with? How do you start me down the road of, hey, I might write a check to the Red Cross?
Well, I actually use, what would I say?
Physical violence.
No, I actually use advice that I was given by my sister's boyfriend 30 years ago.
Wow.
He went on to become an extremely successful business person, sold and bought 3 companies. He's a multimillionaire. Don't know where he is at this moment.
I was going to say, and how much has he given to the Red Cross?
I don't know. I should look him up, shouldn't I?
Yes, we should. I'm just saying, he's not going to miss a little bit of jingle.
The problem is, I think he's in Colorado, which then I wouldn't be able to ask him because under the
people.
Under the one Red Cross, the person in California or Colorado has to ask.
Even better. Even better. You got plausible deniability in the middle. But seriously, how would you start it off?
How he taught me was you go in and you be extremely personable. Mm-hmm. So you basically just get to know the person. If I don't know you, mm-hmm. I obviously get to know you. I talk to you. I ask you questions about your family, ask you questions about your work, ask questions about your children. Do you travel? Any type of information that I'm collecting in my head after I leave, because when I return, I'm going to ask you, so how was that trip to Colorado? So
right.
What school did your child decide to go to?
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to Penn State? I don't know.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I start off a conversation with people that I barely know. In fact,
I'm going to give you a hard time, though, because
okay.
I think you're selling yourself short. You're portraying it in such a way that you sound like it's a mechanism, right?
No.
I know you better than this.
I actually... But
you do connect with people.
And one of the reasons why I'm successful is because I'm actually...
You care.
I care. I am interested in you.
That's why I invited you, because I know that this is what you do. Every sales prospect becomes a part of your life, and that's the only reason this works. You can't fake interest.
No, I can't. I mean, I actually have probably a large group of friends, associates. It depends on how willing you are to become my friend or become my associate.
Right.
Or Philly, whatever.
You become committed to one another, right? Like, I am invested in you. Are you willing to let that happen? Is basically the ask that you're talking about at the beginning. We all sit down around the table. You say, "Hi, I'm Connie, and this is what I'm about. Tell me about you." And then if they don't want to know you on a personal level, you can't make them, right?
That's right. Well, because in development, people give to people. So if you don't like me, I don't care if I have the best mission in the world or you have this connection. You're not going to give me any money.
It's true.
And it's the same. That's what Dan taught me, my sister's boyfriend. People give to people, buy from people. So if you become friendly, you become their friend, or you became at least friendly with them, at least they like you, they're going to be more willing to buy your product.
Absolutely. Because they want to know that they can trust the person that they're writing that check to. And that I'm a firm believer that most decisions that you make are about your identity, right? What does this say about me? And if you're not a person I want to associate with, then we've got a problem. Because choosing to go along with somebody that I don't respect or care for, or even that I think may be up to something, right? That says bad things about me. So
right.
It's never going to happen.
And similarly, if you don't believe in sales, if you don't believe in your product, in development, if I don't believe in my mission, if I don't believe I work for the most trusted organization, I'm not going to be able to sell it.
I agree with you. But I also think that a lot of times what people hear, imagine a rookie listening to the show, right? Somebody just getting started. And I learned this later, but it was really hard for me at first. I thought they were telling me to fake interest because they were never so specific about the commitment part of it. They didn't tell me that it was okay to just get married to the person across the table. And it's like, no, dive in. Be a fully formed human being, take an interest. Now, granted, there's some people who are just not wired for that. I don't think they typically do well in direct sales. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's some people out there who are pure mechanics.
Well, and I think in development, because most of us are all from nonprofits, you have to really care about people.
I think that's a fair statement, no doubt. But I'm honestly thinking about if you're in the copier business, there's no reason that you can't want the best for your clients.
Well, I think folks coming out, the newer development folks, and I can't really say 100% because I'm not obviously in everybody's training.
Yeah.
But I really think they're missing with all the sort of ways to get in and ways to make appointments.
You're talking about the tech thing.
Right, the technology part of it, or the how-to.
Mm-hmm.
They miss telling people the importance of the donor. The donor is the most important person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what you're, in the back of your head, yeah, these are my goals and I have to reach goal and I have to make this many donations, or I have to get this many donations, or I have to get this much supply, in-kind supplies. It's treating the donor with respect. It's letting them tell you what they want to do and how they want to do it. And then, if they don't give you exactly what you want, it's still saying, hey, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'm really grateful for what you're doing. And what you're doing is great. I think sometimes we miss that because I think it's like, well, this is what we need and this is how much we need.
That's what I was going to say. How do you fix it? Like you've got a better view on the problem. And I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't know that I understand what you're saying. So how do you fix that problem?
We kind of talked a little bit of it today. We need to address it in the room. Everybody needs to know that.
You got to be committed to the person.
Right.
And you got to make sure that their success is your success.
Exactly.
We've got that sort of first meeting thing down, right? We're like, okay, we got to get to know these people. But eventually now, and I think a lot of people struggle with this, now you've got to find a way to turn it towards the ask.
You don't do that for a while, though.
Yeah.
In the initial meeting, obviously, it's get to know each other, find out where their interests are. Because while you're talking to them, you're also learning about where they are, where their interests are. Have they volunteered? Have they been on a board of an organization?
Yeah.
So you're kind of talking and getting to know that information, and then you're starting to present the mission of your organization, and you're trying to tie in the mission and the programs and the services to what their particular interests might be.
So you're doing, again, the same thing as anybody else is doing. They're basically qualifying the person, saying like, okay, what are they looking for? And how can I help them get there? It's the exact same transaction.
Sure.
The difference is that you're saving people's lives. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it.
I think the difference between myself and a salesperson who has an actual product to sell, there's 3 differences.
Okay.
That's mine, according to Connie Cavrich. According
to Connie Cavrich, who I will say, as the regional philanthropy officer.
When you give me your hard-earned dollars, you don't, like as I said before, you don't get any product for it. I don't put anything in your hand.
Right.
So all you get is the good feeling you're helping someone you'll never meet.
Yeah.
I can't compete.
And then the third thing is?
The third thing is you don't need me. You don't need my program. Well, you might. If you have a fire, you might need me. But in the back of your mind, you don't.
Speaking from strictly the donor chair, it's not a need.
Yeah, it's not a bottle of water. It's not a new pair of shoes. You don't need me.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 things that are differentiate me from someone who sells an actual product.
So how do you make up for that lack of urgency? Because to your point, they don't need you, right? So they have to either A, feel this strong need to do something for their fellow man, or B, feel some sort of semi-cynical sense of this will get me where I want to go.
Well, there's 2 differences I would pick out. If I come to you as Scot, an individual, a donor, you're not going to take my call and you're not going to take my meeting unless because you know why I'm coming.
Yeah, absolutely. You won't take the meeting unless you have an interest in discussing what's possible.
Because I'm going to ask you for money. It's
Just money, or is it also volunteering stuff?
Well, yeah, and on the Red Cross side, I'm going to ask you for both.
I'm just making sure.
And/or.
Okay.
Some people don't have the financial resources. So.
Right. That's why I wanted to clarify it, because I figured there's people who want to help, and I wasn't sure if that came across your desk or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's actually we've incorporated volunteerism and recruitment of volunteers 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's part of my responsibility.
I've seen a growing trend where people will bring their employees to an offsite.
Yes.
And they'll bring 30 people or 50 people to
Well,
pack backpacks or do whatever needs to be done.
Over 96% of our staff are volunteers, and they're real volunteers.
Right.
They're actually leading things. They're directing. We have folks that go out for fires. There's a team of probably 3 to 4 folks that are on call. Those are all mostly volunteers that are getting out of bed in the middle of the night, coming to our office, driving our vehicles.
That sounds like individual volunteers, though, yeah?
Yes.
Well, those are like people who just want something more in their life.
Yes. And we need them, and they're so valuable, and they're so great.
Yeah.
They are the best people in the whole world. But we're also looking, because I do corporate relations or corporate giving, we're looking for corporate folks, because that's also a trend. Corporations are looking to engage their employees into the community.
Right.
Because it makes them better employees. So, because if their employees are engaged, they understand why they're giving to the Red Cross.
I see.
Because they see where their dollars are going.
Right.
They know what we're doing with them. So from a fire standpoint, I hate to keep bringing up fires, but from a fire standpoint,
you do a lot of it. I mean, you can't get away from it.
Well, we're trying to sort of stop. We're trying to prevent, I shouldn't say stop, trying to prevent deaths and injuries related to fire. So we're going out into communities and canvassing them and providing them with fire safety, fire preparedness information, as well as free smoke alarms, because statistically, a smoke alarm will save your life if you listen to the buzzing sound and get out of the home within 2 minutes. So we've targeted. Pittsburgh Red Cross was actually a pilot program in 2013. We were so successful doing canvassing and targeting the neighborhoods of Pittsburgh. And other cities, obviously, we weren't the only pilot program, but it was so successful they implemented it across the country. So we've gone into various neighborhoods like armies, and we've been asked to go and ask corporations to send us 6 to 10 folks. We do it on a Saturday or sometime during the week, and we are like an army. We go hundreds of folks, 50 to 100 folks. We'll go into community, do like 400 or 500 homes in one 4-hour stint, and we've given out probably in that particular time maybe 300 smoke alarms.
How about that? So before you get out of here, one of the things that I want to do is challenge everybody to go to redcross.org. Wherever you live, you will find the chapter nearest you and research these different things that the Red Cross does for people. Yeah, we spend a lot of time on fires, but it is a huge problem, and that's one of the reasons I got involved with it. Not just my family experience. You made a point of it to me before I even realized you all were involved in it, right? The military, the blood donation, all of those things are out there. And all I'm asking you to do is just go check out the website. You don't have to do anything, but I would really like it if you would at least make sure that you're educated on what already exists. There's all this infrastructure out there that you can take advantage of. And Connie and how many other different people across the country are waiting to help you to figure out whatever the answers to your questions are on that subject. And really, I'm hoping that more of the startup community gets involved with it, because that tends to be our audience.
And I hope they know that under the One Red Cross rule, any funding, any donations that we receive goes to the programs and the disasters that we're responding to here in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Right.
So, because a lot of people get caught up in the national organization, but our dollars stay here. Our dollars get targeted towards the disasters that we're dealing with. I mean, we've all experienced rain for the last 2 weeks. We've given out thousands and thousands of cleanup kits and comfort kits. So,
but you get no government funding.
That's
you are
correct.
Not getting the same dollars that the fire department is getting and the police department and the ambulance. Everything that comes to your house when you're standing out in the front lawn trying to figure out how you're going to bounce back from this, everything came from a donor.
That's correct. That's correct. We are chartered by the federal government, but there's no dollars attached to it.
I mean, no disrespect to anybody, but I think more people should know that, and I don't think they do. Right? I just don't think enough people really understand how this all works. I think that they, to a great extent, just take certain things for granted. And this is one of the things where it's like, if you stop paying attention to it, it will dry up, and then you'll need it. Connie Cavrich, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
If I should have asked you, if anybody wants to reach out to you directly, how would they do that?
Email is probably the easiest. So it's connie.cavrich@redcross.org.
Very good. Thanks again for coming in.
Thanks.
All right, that's all the time we've got for this week. Thank you again to Connie Cavrich from the American Red Cross. I'm going to hold you to it. I need you to check out their website and make sure you at least are educated on what they do. And I think you're probably going to find that somebody you're not that far removed from has actually needed their help at some point or another. Again, these fires and hurricanes and all the different things that the Red Cross is involved in, they're everywhere, all day, every day. And if not you, then who? So with that said, I'm going to work on another show. It's going to be right back here in about 7 days. I hope you're going to tune in for that. In the meantime, don't forget to find us on the web at pitchwerks.com or all the various social channels that we run over here. And I look forward to talking to you again.
The Pitchwerks podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a production of the Epicast Network and McTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. pitchwerks.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, pitchwerks.